So what's up? This is Elemental at Elemental ELA Mental on Steam It here with another answer to the Tribe Steam Up bi-weekly question. This week's question was put forth by Alchemage, who's a buddy of mine. We actually got myself, Kenny's Kitchen, and Alchemage in the next three questions. So this week's is, how do I deal with / accept a loved one who displays self-destructive tendencies? Well, first off, let me start off by saying that I feel like if you're human, then you're going to have some kind of self-destructive tendency if you live on this planet. I mean, maybe not every single person, but I mean, I can say for myself personally, I have self-destructive tendencies. I've just learned over time to improve on those, figure out ways to make them not so self-destructive. A really good example of that is I used to smoke cigarettes, and for years it really was affecting me, and I knew I didn't like them, but I was really addicted to the act of smoking. So I'd chain smoke like crazy, and then one day I decided that I had enough, and I started vaping. And now I still vape. I wouldn't say that vaping is healthy per se, but it's definitely a lot less self-destructive than smoking cigarettes every day. Just one little example. But as far as dealing with other people who display self-destructive tendencies, I know the intention of this question is talking about, like, you know, major drug use, bad drugs. Really, you know, the tendency, maybe not even drug related, just people who constantly seem to attract drama and attract situations on purpose that may have not otherwise been, or may have not otherwise happened, if they didn't instigate them. You know, basically creating drama where there is none for no really good reason. I've met a lot of people in my life that do this consistently on a regular basis, and they always talk about how they don't like drama and they don't want to deal with other people's drama, and yet they constantly create it. And back to the drug thing, if somebody's addicted to really, really bad drugs too, you know, there's no really convincing them otherwise. And same for the other situation. You know, you can't convince people that what they're doing is wrong if they believe that it's not. And by wrong, I mean self-destructive. When I lived in Virginia, where I grew up, as I got older, more and more people I knew and came in contact with started using hard drugs like opiates, such as OxyContin, morphine, Dilaudid, you know, Percocets, even heroin from DC. Crack was another big one. Cocaine in general. I personally didn't see a whole lot of meth use out there, thank God. But I heard after I left, it started to pick up, and there's been a good bit of meth use that I've seen on the West Coast here in Oregon as well. But personally, the one that really affected my group of friends back home was opiates in general. Just whether it be pills, heroin, didn't matter. People didn't care. It was whatever was around and whatever they could get their hands on. And there were certain people that I was closer to than others. And those couple of people who I was closer with, for years and years, I would try to convince them that, you know, hey, you need to change what you're doing, or you're going to end up back in prison or dead. I mean, there's only three outcomes of using that drug habitually. One is death, one is prison, and the other is just completely letting go of it at some point before one of those two other things happen, or after prison, however many times you go. And you know, I put myself out there. I try to help these people. I try to get them away from certain crowds and, you know, steer their mind in other directions. You know, do music with these people, try to create music with these people. You know, and all it ever did was drag me down, you know. And every time one of these people would steal from me or use me for something, or, you know, leave me in a bad situation when I was trying to help them, you know, I would extend myself further and basically fuck myself further And after years of this, I just eventually realized that even just being around these people in general was not only not good for me, but wasn't good for them either, because I was essentially enabling them in some small ways, by making their life easier to live comfortably being an addict. Um, and that after a time, I realized I can't convince these people that they need to change, that it will better their lives if they change. They have to realize it themselves and actually want to change and then do something about it themselves. You can't force them to. I mean, if you try to force these people to go to rehab, or just force them to change the way they think or live, they're not going to want it. So they might pretend that, they're going to continue to live their life that way just to appease, their family or their friends or whatever, to, so they're not left in a situation where they don't have their support any further, but then secretly will go back to it because they weren't ready to quit yet. They have to be ready to quit. That's the bottom line. That in my experience, that's the best way I've figured out how to handle these kind of things. You just gotta let people know that you love them and you care about them, but you can't be around them anymore because they're negatively affecting you. And I like to surround myself with people that want success, that want to be happy with their lives. So yeah, they got to be ready to change. They got to want to change. You can't force them to do it. It's just the way it is. As much as you'd like people to, you can't. You just got to let them go until they figure it out. And sometimes that means that they're gonna end up dead, and sometimes that means they're gonna end up in prison or back in prison, and it's unfortunate. But you can't force people to live a way that they don't see fit for themselves. No matter how right you might be about what you're telling them, all you can do is say you love them, keep supporting them, but not supporting their lifestyle, which means you have to remove yourself. I moved 3,000 miles away from where I grew up because a big reason was because of these type of people that refuse to evolve and become better. And it was kind of disheartening to me, especially for these specific couple of people that I knew back home, because they made music with me, and I really needed them to step up like I was stepping up for all of us to become successful in music in that area. It was already hard enough doing conscious hip hop out there, because hip hop in general isn't really supported out there. So also not having the two people that were closest to me in music, basically falling victim to this lifestyle of severe hardcore drug use. It sucked for me and for them, but really, I was ready to step up and they weren't, and it dragged me down for a long time. But if they would have been able to step up to the plate, who knows where we all could be right now. And it's sad. However, I didn't let that stop me, and we're doing a lot of big stuff right now. We're doing this show on November 30th at the Geodesic Art Collective in Portland for the Star Tribe Alliance and Elias Clay's Constellation Tour with Gaia Experiment. Got Mike Crenshaw, Vaughn Gage, Quincy Davis, myself, Elemental, going to be performing there. We're going to have some of the best painters in Portland doing live paintings there. Kenny's Conscious Kitchen, throwing down with some organic vegan cuisine and non-alcoholic drinks, maybe even smoothies. We might even have a couple other vendors there. There's going to be music all night, even after the hip hop's done. Just all night music, party, all conscious shit. It's gonna be dope, and I'm really looking forward to it. Right now, I just got a few new instrumentals from my homie. I have Totem working on a custom instrumental right now for all the conscious MCs that are gonna be on the mixtape on the one collaborative track. Yeah, a lot of great shit happening, and it's just unfortunate that the couple people from back home essentially chose drugs over music and chose drugs over their friends. So I hope that any of you out there that might be in a situation like this, either from my perspective or from the perspective of the people that I'm referencing, I hope that this gives you some insight into what the future will bring for you on either side of that fence. So if you know people like this and are dealing with something similar, just remember to not lose faith in yourself, even if you lose support of your friends due to drugs or just narcissistic tendencies or whatever. And then if you're on the other side of that fence and you're one of those people that is choosing drugs or narcissistic tendencies over your friends, maybe you should consider changing what you're doing to really not only help yourself but help your buddies out there trying to help you, because it'll lead you to a much brighter and happier future. And I don't really see anything else to live for except that. So, you know, shitty drugs ain't worth it, man. It's just going to lead you to bad places. Everyone beats that into your head your whole life, but I mean, it's true. It's true. Just have fun. Smoke lots of fucking reefer. There's nothing wrong with weed. I love weed. I'll smoke weed every day. It's actually good for you. Maybe not smoking it, but consuming it. Anyway, that's my answer for this week's Tribes Team Up bi-weekly question, set up by Alchemage. I'm Elemental. You guys have a wonderful evening. Peace.